I'd like to welcome Minister O'Donoghue to the House. Fourth motion, Senator Mark Daly.
Minister, thanks very much for coming to the House. In relation to this issue in Valentia, I'm sure you are aware that the Valentia Marine Rescue Coordination Centre is one of the busiest of our three. It is the busiest, busier than Malin, busier than Dublin. I'm not too sure, have you also received a report on why it should be closed? Because every minister that comes to the department gets a report written up by some of the permanent government advocating its closure. And the issue here is in relation to having a resident engineer, and I know the position was advertised, I know the position has been put into Cork, but when you consider that Malin has a resident engineer, when you consider that Dublin has a resident engineer, and yet Valentia, which is busier than both of them, will not have a resident engineer, and the engineer will be 200 kilometres away. As you know, there are a huge amount of sites along the Cork-Kerry coast which would be the responsibility of the engineer to keep the VHF communication service functioning and running. There was an incident which was discussed at length in the Transport Committee on the last attempt by the Coast Guard Service to try and close down Valentia and move its operations up to Dublin. That Galleyhead communications network was down for 6 months, and within 5 days of it being repaired, it managed to pick up and was the only receiver station to pick up a distress signal from a ship that went down near Galleyhead. The reason we were given that the engineer, or it hadn't been fixed, is that the engineer had been out sick for 6 months, and yet a piece of infrastructure as vital as that was not repaired. The fact that the engineer, which will be servicing our busiest Marine Rescue Coordination Centre, is going to be based 200 kilometres away, while Malin and Dublin will have theirs on site in residence, is hard to understand, and maybe the Minister could enlighten us as to the reasons why Valentia is being discriminated against, while Dublin and Malin will have their engineers on site. Thank you, Cahir.
Thank you, Cahirlook, and I just want to apologise to the Senator for keeping him waiting. And I want to thank him for raising the matter. The engineering branch of the Irish Coast Guard provides a national maritime safety, telecommunications and responder alerting and notification service. This involves the provision of a wide range of diverse but specialised systems. All design, procurement, project management and subsequent administration and maintenance is carried out in-house by the small number of staff servicing this area. Due to the large quantity of system service and equipment and the need to replace aged equipment and to ensure service availability, there are continuous programmes of equipment modernisation being undertaken by the engineering section. The workload has grown considerably over the last few years, due in no small part to the continuous evolution of services that the automatic identification system, the AIS, provides, and the proliferation of external uses such as the Irish Navy, the Commissioner of Irish Lights, the North Sea Regional Server, Maritime Safety and Security Information System, all who use this system for the interconnection of data and the exchange of data. The role of an engineering officer covers a broad range of duties in terms of the management and operation of all technical aspects of the marine communications network. The engineering officer is required to diagnose and maintain a broad range of radio and telecommunications equipment used in maritime communications, responder alert and notification, vessel tracking technologies and supporting infrastructure, including the following: the maintenance of all equipment employed in the national maritime communication networks, fault analysis across multiple wide area telecommunication networks, the identification and the analysis of fault trends nationally and by equipment type, the maintenance on radio site infrastructure, including antennae, masts, buildings, perimeter and access, the maintenance of communications equipment at Coast Guard unit station houses, including equipment in boats and vehicles, the coordination and management of multiple subcontractor and utility providers, and the coordination and management of local spares and of stock holding. Additionally, and this is an important factor in the requirement to fill the vacancy which arose in the Cork office, the engineering officer is responsible for the maintenance of communications equipment at Coast Guard unit station houses, including equipment in boats and vehicles, and the coordination and management of multiple subcontractor and utility providers. The engineering officer post reports to an electronics officer based in Dublin, who is responsible for the overall management and operation of all technical aspects of the National Marine Communication Network. Following recent amalgamations, it is currently of the order of 10 Coast Guard units throughout Cork and 5 in Kerry. A significant amount of travel throughout the region and out-of-hours availability is a necessary feature of the role. The Cork office continues to provide a good location for the overall fulfilment of the various engineering responsibilities, and it is for this reason that the post is located in Cork. I do want to point out to the Senator that the post became available on foot of the retirement of the previous incumbent. It has taken some time to fill the vacancy due to the need to comply with the Department of Public Expenditure policy in filling public sector vacancies, and also due to the requirements of the Public Appointment Service, the PAS, recruitment process. The advertisement which issued from the PAS clearly indicated that the position to be filled was in the Cork office. I am happy to say that the recruitment process is now complete. The position has been offered to the successful candidate, is due to commence very shortly in the Cork office, where the other Coast Guard staff are located. Thank you.
Question, Senator.
Thanks, Cathaoirleach, and thanks, Minister, for the reply. I suppose it goes back to the earlier point I made, in reality, that the engineer is based in Dublin, servicing the Marine Rescue Coordination Centre there in Malin, and yet the busiest one that we do have is in Valentia, and the engineer is going to be based in Cork, 200 kilometres away. That in reality, while there are 10 Coast Guard units in Cork and 5 in Kerry, that the requirement for maintenance of their equipment is minimal compared to the very important equipment that is down below in Valentia. And if, of course, that equipment or indeed the utilities coming into it suffers a catastrophic failure, as was written in one report prior to the equipment, the new equipment being installed, nothing else works. So while something might go down in Ballycotton, that means only Ballycotton is out of action. If something goes down in Valentia, everything from Cork to the Aran Islands goes out of action. And that's why we believe that it should have been filled in Valentia, that there should be an engineer living on the island and obviously working there during the day, but also available at short notice. And that really was the issue raised in Kerry about the position being filled. And as the ministers in the House, I take the opportunity to congratulate him on his post, but also to warn him. His previous incumbent and the incumbent before him all received reports on why Valentia should be closed. There is an agenda within the department and within the Coast Guard to close down Valentia, and we have unfortunately had to bring in those senior civil servants into the committee, and actually we took apart their reports line by line, and when the actual facts were uncovered, it showed that the reports given to this government and the previous government were at variance with the truth. And that, I suppose, while I've often watched Yes Minister when I was younger, I actually never thought I'd see it in action, and I actually did see it in action. And I just like to make the Minister aware that if he does have a report, that he might ask for the previous 2 reports and ask what happened then when they tried to close down Valentia. I thank the Minister for coming to the House, and I thank him for his reply. Thank you, Cathaoirleach.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank the Senator for his comments. I've only briefly seen Yes Minister, and I have to assure you that the environment I work in does not resemble it in any way. It doesn't resemble in the thick of it either, for the record either. And just in relation to the more serious points that you have made, and I accept the genuineness and with the interest with which you are raising them. I had the opportunity to visit Valentia myself and to meet the Coast Guard and to meet the leaders and management of the overall Coast Guard service as well. And when I was there, one of the things that was impressed upon me, Senator, is for the key systems that they have in Valentia. The advances that have now happened due to the investment that the government has made now mean that if any critical system, for any catastrophic reason, were not to work, the same system and capacities can be deployed via the other two key stations in Malin and in Dublin. So for any reason, any awful system failure was to occur because of the investment that has been put in place, we do have the capacity for the other two key stations to play a role in sustaining safety if for any reason anything were to happen to one of the other units. So that is in place. In relation to any reports that I have received, I have no such report in front of me at the moment. I am very much aware of the debate that has taken place in the past in relation to Valentia, but I was happy to go and visit the Coast Guard there and see a unit that now has more investment in it, and to go along to an event to commemorate the 100 years of service that occurred there, and to look forward to see more years of service take place there as well. In relation to the specific point that you put to me there regarding the location of the engineer, I do understand where you're coming from, but the people who work in this area in my department, and I want to assure you that the only agenda that they have is to work with me to get the best value out of the money that's available to us, while at the same time meeting the safety needs that we have in our coasts and in our waters. But they have been very, very clear that it is important that this person be based in Cork to service the other 10 units within the county and region of Cork, but also to deliver the other needs that I've identified there in relation to maintenance, fault analysis, maintenance of radio site infrastructure and other matters that I detailed to you in my earlier contribution. So it is for those reasons that choice was made there. It is one that I support, given the expertise that went into making that particular decision. But I will certainly keep your broader points in mind, Senator, if in the context of any future decisions or debate in relation to the unit.
Thank you, Minister. I'll stand suspended until 3:30.